Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Empower Podcast. This is episode 36 with Adrienne in Maui. Hi, Adrienne.
Hi, Brett. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate any guests from any parts of the whole wide world that's out there, because we are not, as I was even taught by you too, it's not an island. We are not an island. We are one world, right?
All connected.
All connected. Got it. All right. Anyone who is new to the Empower Podcast, what is this? It's a podcast run by healthcare professionals and community healers with establishing and achieving milestones throughout a continued commitment by raising transparency and awareness, not alone, but together as a continuing goal since March of 2023 to have legislation passed in the state of Colorado and throughout the whole United States, having employers provide and support employee wellness programs through a minimum of 8 wellness days for all healthcare professionals per quarter, a minimum deposit into an HSA account per quarter that is tax exempt at the federal, state, and local levels, and the establishment of a third-party run anti-retaliation department in each healthcare system. At Empower, we believe in the power of community, diversity, and inclusive society. And our podcast aims to amplify voices that often go unheard, featuring interviews with individuals and organizations who are making a difference in their communities and beyond. Through thought-provoking conversations and inspiring stories, we strive to raise awareness and promote action towards a more equitable and sustainable healthcare realm throughout the world. All right. And if you haven't, if you could please follow, if you could also subscribe and rate any of that, it'll help us all out. We appreciate bio.link/empower. You can go straight from there and it'll take you to all the different platforms that we're available on. Adrienne, this is a part of the show where we do a big community thank you. I didn't know if there's any individuals, organizations, or anyone in general that you'd like to make outreach and give thanks to.
So the person I really want to thank is God for me. That's my shout out is just thank you, Lord. And I know that we quote at the end, but this is the quote that I brought.
Yeah, nothing wrong here. Yeah,
because from Him, and that is Philippians 4. I was going to read it in two different versions. Philippians 4 verse 12 and 13 in the Passion Bible. It says, I know what it means to lack, and I know what it means to experience overwhelming abundance. For I'm trained in the secret of overcoming all things, whether in fullness or in hunger. And I find that the strength of Christ's explosive power infuses me to conquer every difficulty. And so that's kind of my quote that I go to, that, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That version says it a little differently, but I really wanted to bring this one because of the name of your podcast, Empower. So this version says, Philippians 4:13, excuse me, I can do all things which He has called me to do through Him who strengthens and empowers me to fulfill His purpose. I am self-sufficient in Christ's sufficiency. I am ready for anything and equal to anything through Him who infuses me with inner strength and confident peace. So that's who I want to give my praise and honor to.
Hey, that's a community thank you. That's definitely an expression of thanks in any way that it comes out. And that really, I think, in life helps empower us as humans, is being able to do that. In whatever way it comes out, and whatever occurs for others, occurs for others, and what's occurring for you is what's occurring for you, and yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So for me, that is just really that's what came up for me while I was really, I don't know what I call what I've been doing, reflecting and who I am, in healthcare, which is I'm not anything really in healthcare as far as I'm not a nurse or a doctor. I don't have any kind of degree in anything. But I'm a mother and I'm a human being. And so for me, it started off with myself. what do I do
Yeah.
to
What is the integrity of
take
healthcare like for you? Yeah.
Yeah. And so like today here in recovery from codependency, anger, workaholic, and perfectionism. And it's been quite a journey, and yet of course it never arrives. It's like you never arrive at like being completely, like it goes away. It still occurs. It just occurs differently, and I'm able to really identify it when it's happening, and I never know when it's going to happen. It just kind of happens. But I'm so grateful for recovery and what it's done for me. So, I really feel that mental health is really important, especially depending on, how you were brought up. And for me, I had a dysfunctional upbringing, and thus that itself led me to recovery and the life that I have now, which is amazing. So grateful for the life I had, every bit of it.
Congratulations, Adrienne. That is certainly something to not only acknowledge and celebrate, but to keep into your overall fabric of being is keeping track. And I know some people, they like to keep track of certain things throughout life, some things they don't, but to acknowledge that overall journey and to know that it is a journey, right? It is, and to looking at whatever the measure is for others of a journey, but to see that for you, I think the distinction I'm seeing is that it's an ongoing journey, right?
It's definitely a journey, and it's definitely a journey that you don't do alone, because in recovery it's a we program. We do it together. So there's a community of us that support each other and love each other, and I think that's what the world really is missing, is recovery, one big recovery, and because we all have hurts, hang-ups, and habits that we, become ashamed of and feel guilty for, and thus we, hurt people. And so how do we really support each other in understanding that, when someone's not reacting the way we think they should react, chances are they're hurting about something. And it has nothing to do with you. It just has something to do with what's going on for them. But then we take it on as being personal. And then next thing you know, there's a disconnect there. And how do we just really get reconnected to ourselves and allow others to have their connection with themselves, so that we can all connect in a really positive way? And I think one of the ways is forgiveness,
Forgiveness.
Because to me, health is really all about peace and love and connection. And forgiveness is also connection. Unforgiveness is definitely disconnection. And you see it just in Israel, and what's going on in Gaza, how there's obviously a disconnect. There's some unforgiveness. There's some entitlement, right? Who's right, right? There's all who's right, who's wrong. And how do we just really let go of these things and just, communicate and be able to just really be one in love, so that we can just all get along? I mean, it's really a kindergarten, the kindergarten lesson. Yeah. Right?
There's the golden rule. Yeah, there's the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated, and to literally see that, I mean, to be a part of what it is that's occurring. I'll definitely speak on it. And this will be published next week. And people will say, what do you mean next week? That's this week that you're listening to it, folks. But I took it like a week of peace off for Empower, just to acknowledge that, like, that's what's occurring in the world, and that will have an influence on a lot of different things, and we exist within the military industrial complex where, that, if something is, first of all, your workers have to be not only dependable, they need to be reliable, they need to be efficient, and of course, above all, at least one of the other ones is they need to be replaceable. And I think in today's world, that's one of the other conversations. I think there's lots of conversations going on now within the world, and to see that there's I guess the other conversation is what is priority, right? And what priority looks like for each individual or organization or country or whatnot. But and to see that you're exactly right. It's to a degree where it's almost a measuring contest as to who can toss the stone the furthest, and to say like, oh, well, my stone can go the furthest and my stone's bigger. And it's this other conversation that some people have throughout life, and it can be their own history. And if I can share, it comes down for me, the way I see it through my analysis is that can be unresolved trauma, and not only their own, but historically that they just inherited, and they're just trying to literally be, I don't know, the way I see it is it's wounded, right? In life, we as humans can have wounds in whatever way they look like, and people have different perspectives as to what wounds look like. I mean, being within a nurse too, if I can share this, is a family member seeing, a dressing come off for the first time and seeing what a wound looks like. Not all of them are like, wow, like that is healing great, like that is, I'm so glad to finally see that. They'll go, oh my gosh, what did you do? And it's like, I didn't do anything. That was already done. Like I'm here looking at it for the first time, like and to embrace that moment and see what that looks like. That's just the whole one side of the wound. That's what it looks like for others. But I think to see others' wounds that potentially they're not to poke and prod, not in any way, shape, or form, but to declare that like some of these people in power, there's a lot of dangerous things in this world. There definitely are, and there's a couple conversations come up to I think blockade from the overall other conversations that are out there, and this can be it. I mean, do you have a traumatized leader in the world? And I'm not saying who or what and in whatever way, or leaders or whatnot, but like anywhere. And that's not just a story in that part of the world. That's a story everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, even here on Maui, we recently had like a lot of fires. Lahaina itself got burned down. That's really a hot topic for me.
Absolutely.
And and it's definitely bringing up old traumas, right, from a Hawaiian perspective.
Thanks for sharing.
And yet, I think for me being in recovery, what I've learned is really we can't rely on other humans for the answer. The only one that really has the answer is God, for me. Yeah, that's just my perspective. Mm-hmm. And so how do we really turn to Him for our complete wholeness, and looking to other human beings to complete us for wholeness? Because we are whole and perfect and complete just the way we are, and the way God created us. Okay, again, my perspective. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I agree with that healthcare providers, especially, or people who are touched by traumatic instances like fire and rescue, and them, where they see trauma, they get to be around trauma. They really do need some off time to be able to clear the trauma from what they've just experienced. Might not be their own trauma, but they've been a part of that trauma, therefore now their trauma. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I totally agree with your mission to get them some days to be able to really take for their own mental and physical and spiritual health, so that they can come back whole, and right. Really able to empower others like they really want to, because people who are in healthcare, they have this care for others. And so how do we care for them? And so yeah, giving them some days off and giving them some medical help, right, is truly amazing. Because I know right now on Maui, what's happening is that things are escalating. The island is separating each other. Lahaina, right? They're now all over the place. Some of them moved houses 4 or 5 times. So it's created this really constant unsafety for them. And thus, they're turning to things to comfort themselves, mm-hmm. So everything's starting to really escalate, especially the mental health side of things. Mm-hmm. And, and also from the Hawaiian perspective, of what happened, with the overthrow and all that other stuff, that's kind of coming up too, the hurt of the past generation. So, How do you do that? And really, the entire island of Maui has been traumatized, and anybody who's been here has been traumatized too. So there's a lot of trauma going on throughout the world, just over the one fire, and then now with Israel, that's just whole nother trauma that's going on. And of course Ukraine, and there's just a lot of. I mean, we're just so connected to a lot of trauma. And how do we focus on ourselves to release as much? That's just my theory, is how do I work on myself so that I can release and complete as much as I can in my own life, so that I can open up space for others to have love and be able to have the courage to open up more space in themselves to forgive and love, so that if we all did that, we'd all be connected to a massive ball of love, and be able to strengthen each other and love each other instead of do what we're doing, right now, and really help each other and rise up each other and empower each other.
Yeah.
Really, in the case of Lahaina, empowering them that they're able to do it on their own. They don't need handouts. How do we help each other? How do we help each other? Right? I mean, what's my part? And that's been my thought, especially even more so since the Lahaina fire and all my travels recently, is how much we all just really want a good life, and we really want to love each other. It's just that we have these hurts, and how do we take care of that? I'm not even sure. I might be off topic.
No,
on all of
you're
this,
absolutely not. You're right, though, is to want to have that distinction. And I think, and I live life in a lot of different distinctions now, I think, and it kind of helps me out. And that one that you're talking about is, a life worth living and a life that you love, and what that may look like for others. And that's what it may look like for others, and that's literally what it is, and whatever it is you're trying to create or generate. Yeah, no, not at all whatsoever. Absolutely not. And thank you for sharing as to what's happening.
Overall for me with healthcare, I'm really about how, I don't like medical. I don't like medicine. Like, I don't like pharmaceuticals, and I don't really want the first choice to be cut. And I have experienced this. I recently went into the hospital last year in excruciating pain, having to be carried out from my back bathroom to the ambulance by 2 firemen because I could not walk. Got in an ambulance, which I had never been in before, driven to a hospital where I was told that I had gallstones and that I needed to have an operation, and I needed to have my gallbladder taken out. And my first question, because I'm like not wanting my first I don't like the first solution to be cut it out. I want the first solution to be, well, what's really going on holistically, right? So my question to them was, okay, if I don't cut it out, my gallbladder, that is, what's going to happen? Is it going to explode? Am I going to die? What's the worst case scenario here?
Transparency and awareness.
Yeah. And, they said, well, the chances of you having a gallstone attack later on down the road is a strong possibility. I goes, okay, so I'm not going to die and it's not going to blow up right now. And they said, well, no, but we highly recommend that. And I said, okay, well, I don't want to get my gallbladder taken out. That was my decision. I goes, I just heard that there was something wrong with my gallbladder. I don't even know what the gallbladder does. I don't even know where it is. I wanted to go home and figure out what it is, what can I do, and if I have to take it out, then make that decision. But since I don't have to make that decision, but I stayed in the hospital for a week, and part of it was my fault because I really don't like medication, so I didn't take the antibiotics. After a day or two, I thought, maybe I need antibiotics. So I took the antibiotics for 3 days. And after doing a little bit of research about it, and then I started feeling, a little better. And it just, everything kept being pushed toward, you need to take your gallbladder out. You need to take, let's take this test.
That's the conversation.
I got to give test after test after test so that they could convince me to take my gallbladder out. And in the end, I just said I had to check myself out against medical advice because they just wouldn't stop. The last test they wanted to give me They wanted to inject me with radioactive dye so that they could take pictures of my gallbladder. And I said, yeah, no. I goes, I have enough problems with my gallbladder. I don't want to put a radioactive dye in my body. And my answer is still no, since I don't have to get my gallbladder out. And that was October of 2022. Yeah. And now it's October of 2023. Mm-hmm. And praise God, so far, no more attacks. Not to say that I won't have one down the road, but I'm just glad I didn't get my gallbladder out, Now, will I need to take it out down the road? Well, I'll come to that down the road. Right. But for now, I'm not necessarily eating everything I should be eating.
So that was my other question I had. Like, when you were in the hospital, did you feel that there was an emphasis on your diet and nutrition when it came to there, even regardless of how many tests they were taking or any of that? Like, first of all, did you want to share what it is you ate, what it is you thought about that? So that can be like out there if you want. Like, overall, not just portion size. Portion size is up to portion. That's the way that it's supposed to be. But the quality of the food and then overall education as to that impact on your health. Did that in any way, shape, or form come out for you?
So in the hospital, I did not really get educated about what I could do to change it. I had to go research it on my own, and thank goodness for the phone. I could do that while I was in the hospital. Uh-huh. My diet in the hospital was clear. They just gave me clear forever. And then I came out and started eating, more broths and bone broths and, real vegetables for a month. That's what I did. I got into an acupuncturist and an herbalist, a Chinese herbalist. Thank you, Lord. And he wasn't taking any more new patients. And I was able to get in to see him because I sat at his door, and waited for him to open. And he took me in and gave me a bunch of herbs and stuff. And I did. I changed my diet for about 2 months, and then I felt better. And then I have a regular acupuncturist that I go to, and she was gracious enough to see me extra times to give me treatments and stuff like that. But none of that came out of being in the hospital. What did come out of being in the hospital was a lot of fear, because this one nurse in particular, she actually came in when I was trying to get out and said, I've heard that your insurance might not cover you if you leave the hospital. And that struck fear in me because, I was in the hospital for a week. That's a lot of money. It ended up being like $50,000,
Oh, wow.
$50,000. And if I had to come up with that just because I was getting out without their approval, I just thought, okay, you know what? I don't care, right? $50,000. I can figure it out. I didn't know it was going to be $50,000. That's what it ended up being. But and my insurance ended up covering it because I came out and I thought, well, I came into the hospital with a medical condition. Why would they deny paying for my hospital visit because I'm checking myself out?
Yeah. You don't. You're not mandated to say you want surgery either.
Say that to me. Two nurses. I had another one collaborated. It was like this. Like the nurses were like, I felt like outside of 3 of them weren't my friends. All they wanted was to take my gallbladder. I felt like I was, and I felt like my gallbladder was not in a healthy environment because, everybody had murderous thoughts about it. And so I just said,
like almost like Jack the Ripper, almost like all coming in.
Crazy what kind of pressure I felt in the hospital. And I felt like I had no choice. Had I not already known that I had choice because of, being in the Landmark Forum, and that really opened up that I have a choice. I was able to really have courage to just really walk out. But I don't know if I'd been able to do that before. I would have thought, well, what's the big deal? I don't really need my gallbladder is what they told me. Yeah. And you do, when you're in Eastern medicine, it's a win, or I think it's a win, and you need all 4 of your parts. You need your parts, and it's not in there for no reason.
Yeah.
And so, so for me, I don't like medicine until I really, really, really need it. And I question anybody really that tells me I can't do something. There's always another answer to something. Sometimes it is, there are times when you really do have to get your gallbladder out. If the stone is stuck in there and it's inflamed, then you really do need to take it out. But that was not my case.
Mm.
And I should have had, when I expressed my choice of what I wanted, I should have been honored in that. And say, instead of saying, well, you're going to be back. And, and everybody like feeling like I just,
that was like, hold on.
Thing.
Is that how your discharge was more like all right, we'll see you soon. Like, all right, well,
yeah.
Wow.
It was awful. It was awful. It was as if
almost like a walk of shame.
It was like I killed somebody.
Oh my gosh. And it was all having to do with you. Oh my God.
It was my body. You know what I mean? And I find that seems to be the resonating thing about medical. If you don't, like COVID, right? I chose not to do the vaccine, just because I don't like medicine. It had nothing to do with any kind of political stand. But, oh my gosh, it became like this political stand. And I thought, okay, it's not political for me. I would have made this choice before, before. And so I just feel like when it comes to pharmaceutical, there's just this undertone that you got to listen. And I don't agree. I grew up with a great grandmother that gave me awful plants, like the bud juice of a banana tree. So at the end of a banana bush, there's a bud that stays there. Okay. So a banana flowers, and then the hands come out, and then at the very bottom there's a bud. And what we did as Hawaiians is we took that bud and we would take the drippings from that bud, because you put it over a jar, and drippings would come out of it. And then your great grandmother would make you take it if you had like a sore throat,
what?
Or whatever. And it tasted awful, but it worked.
Right.
Okay. So, as a Hawaiian, plant life is, they're your friends. They have feelings. They feel you. They create an atmosphere of love. Really, plants do. And I know the scientific experiment that got done in the 7th grade that I saw with music. And so I know that plants have feelings. And so whenever I go by a plant, I really acknowledge them for who they are, or what they are. I don't even know what they are, but I do know that they are alive and that they have feelings, and that their feelings, reflect for us, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up with plants, with stuff, having to take that. Oh,
yeah.
That was awful. And so, growing up, medicine was not necessarily, although we were, like every time we got a cold, my mom did take us to the doctor.
Yeah.
For every little thing, so there's that respect for doctors that was ingrained, or fear for doctors, but over time, I just kind of use medical for blood to do my blood test so that I can see so that I can then get efficient in it. Right. And it's really sad for me that I can't just go get my blood test to see what I'm deficient in. I got to actually go through a doctor to get the blood test. And so, it's hard to tell whether you're really doing good or not when you have to go in that route. But that's kind of how I use medical for myself, and my family. And then, I do have an issue for myself that I just am so grateful, really, that you had me on this podcast. And I was kind of telling you a little bit about it, about how, I don't really eat well all the time. It seems like I always go back to eating, fat foods or, candy. And like, I'm a late night snacker because it's a comfort with my dad who's gone.
Yeah.
So my dad passed away, and breakfast at night with the family was just always something that we did. Breakfast is a comfort, and I love it. But it really does remind me of my dad, and he's gone. And so a lot of the times I eat food based on what I remember about him, and which is not healthy. And then, my marriage too. A lot of times I eat food just because I want to get back at him, which is silly. So I take it out on my body. Mm-hmm. And those things have kind of recently come up for me, and that that I'm not worthy or I'm not valuable, and so I was just writing that down. That I don't know how to eat well, and that there's one day broccoli's good for you, and the next day broccoli's not good for you. Like there's like a billion messages about kale, and I'm like going, well, which one is it then? Can I eat that? Can I not? Is that going to make me bloat? Is that going to make me bloat? Podcast though, mm-hmm. today that I sat down and I just thought, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. Everybody's body is different. Mm-hmm. Your body's different. Why don't you just sit down and ask your body what it needs and see? So, and that I am smart. I'm not stupid. I do know how to cook, mm-hmm. and I am not perfect, and there's nothing wrong. And so thank you, because it really has completed something for me in the eating realm. Because literally, I have 3 plans, subscription plans that I pay for now, mm-hmm. that I do, and I don't do any of them, mm-hmm. and they've all helped me. Mm-hmm. But it's just kind of crazy how much money I'll spend to avoid actually just doing just what I know right now. So, so you've helped me in my own healthcare journey to, be more, and I think that's what each opportunity grants in life is they open a door to something that we need, or not need per se, but our body craves, so that we can be more more love and more healthy and more knowledgeable. And I love that question that I had heard, what is your contribution to healthcare? I think it is. How am I giving back to healthcare? I was just kind of thinking about that. Yeah. How am I giving back to healthcare?
If I could offer, Cher really got me. I'm trying to remember what it was that got me. That was what it was. You talked about how when you buy a plant, you will talk with it and you develop a relationship with it and you see it as a living thing, right? And the interesting part is, I from what I got from all of that, at least the reflection, was then treat yourself. And I don't know what the relationship is with food. I can't, I'm not going to speak with that. And one of the things about Empower is I'm not here for nursing or medical advice, but one of the things I can offer with that, you are that plant, right? A part of nature. So thus you would do the same thing to yourself as you would do to it, right?
Right.
To say that you are. And if I can share with this, I've been integrating that recently too. It's a manifestation technique I've heard. And there is this, the body keeping count. And you have for those who want to look into these parts, and there's theory, is the subconscious. And they say the subconscious is always listening. And regardless of what you feed it, it will believe it and it'll bring it into fruition. So if that's what you do to that plant, I'd say, why not try that to yourself and see, what is it truly that plant would need to, because that's, if you are the plant, right, in this situation, to be nourished to the point where it can be a healthy plant, and it can not only provide for itself, but also for those who want to stop by. If it is a smelly plant, it is. If it's not, it's not. Like, it provides whatever it is it does, in addition to itself. So, wow. And to speak such words, and whatever they may be, is to even just looking in the mirror and saying, you're loved, you're loved, you're loved, like 10 times in the morning, or whatever it may be. The body's keeping count of all that. And that's what's driving me nuts, because I'm not. Like, there's times where I feel like I'm not, but it must be. But yeah, no, you're a worthy plant, and I will speak to you and help in what way, and you shall speak to yourself, because it's there's all these theories coming about plants, and we're I feel like a human race getting curious about them more now, and it's to the point where people are hooking up electrodes to plant stuff, and what can come out of that is, wow, I don't know. And I guess for me, another thing that occurred in your share with the generational viewpoint on health and healthcare was, you mentioned your grandmother and what she would use as remedies and or ways to treat whatever the symptoms were, and then what it is your mother would look to as well. And I feel like they maybe had different conversations. I don't know. I can't speak to that. But it's interesting to see that you were on the receiving end of both. And to see that how that kind of comes out in people's lives too, is the integration of, I see it as big health and then big pharma, right? In whatever way they come out. And then the overall practice of wellness, I think, has been integrated into that. I think you can still practice wellness and not have to be a part of either one. Not here again, like for any kind of advice, but I think it is a possibility to invent in being, you know?
Right. Gosh, I'm not even sure where to go from there.
I know, I just threw a lot at you. I totally did. It was an authentic share. It's just I really received what it is, what I feel you were really sharing, and to see what comes out of that. And that's what's come out of it for me, is to see that the viewpoint of the plant, the subconscious, and just cultural viewpoints on health. And this leads to the overall conversation of, wellness and healthcare, to see what that looks like. Wow. Yeah.
So in my science class, when I was in 7th grade, I think, one of the boys did, he took plants, this one button plant, and gave it different kinds of music, heavy metal, rock, classical, no light, no water, no sun, sunlight, I think he had 7 different plants, and the classical bloomed the biggest, the brightest out of all of them.
Oh, really?
Music. The plant died. Of course, the one with no water, no sun, that died too.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. But I thought it was interesting that the plants were able to either thrive or not thrive based on the music that it was given. It still got water and sun,
right?
But it also got different kinds of music.
But out of all the genres, classical,
and that is what convinced me that plants were alive, that plants had feelings, that plants were things to be recognized and not just walked by as a bush, So I make it a point, if I can, to go up to a tree. I love trees. And to just really put my hand on them and to acknowledge them. And because, they're rooted, in the earth and connected, right, to everything. And so, I don't know, it just makes me feel good.
Well, and I want to acknowledge your share, and to the moment where you realize that connection with nature. I feel mine came when I literally read about fungi and their integration, even with trees too, and the overall history of just life in general. And that they are different, but they gave plants their root system, like when they were in the water and they brought them out of the water, and to see that their integration and how they can communicate. I know it sounds like, it's science. It's been found is that the fungal network that exists will literally, the mycelial networks, that's the subunit of it, the living part of the overall fungi, will help communicate from trees and various trees and tell if one's sick or not, and then they can share resources using that network of the fungi.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that fungus?
Fungi? Correct. Fungus? Yep. Fungi, fungus.
Fungi. I like to eat fungus.
Only some produce mushrooms, like a small percentage do. Right. But they'll talk to each other, and they're super behavioral. That's the way they're described, is their overall being is behavioral. They come out when they want to. They if they produce mushrooms, they'll come out when the temperature's right. If the wind speed is left, right, or in a circle, it's their own decision.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But,
right. And I wanted to just clarify. It's not when I buy plants. It's when I go by them. Okay. Walk by them.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Just be okay. Yeah, like walk in a park or okay. Yeah, I'm trying that on now.
Acknowledging them and their life and what they bring to our life. I think that gets overlooked a lot of times. But yeah, I think in the end, for me overall, it's just really choice. Everybody has their choice, and it's okay, whatever way they go. Even with the gallbladder, I hear that's like the number one surgery going on in America right now is the removal of the gallbladder, which is, you do have a choice. in the matter. And of course, most times, because I had a partial hysterectomy too, but I felt like I wasn't going to have any more babies, so that wasn't a deal. But given my circumstances now, I would have opted not to have done what I did, because of a fibroid that I had. I would have I'm not even sure if I would have got cut for the fibroid. I'm still not debating that. I just think, who knows? Yeah. But life happens the way it happens. And I think that God's got a plan, and how do I just line up with his plan? But really the fires in Lahaina have really hit me, to a degree of wanting to do, for our people and for our community and for our island. So my focus is now more on where am I to be? Am I to be in healthcare? I don't know. It's kind of funny. When I first started volunteering, I actually helped out with Mauna Medics and Noi. She was awesome. The grassroots system here of getting medical to people in need, and they were phenomenal. So your podcast is bringing up, maybe I should be more with that.
No, and I know, and I'm so glad you're sharing that, because that's even a conversation I'm having with people who are looking at being potential guests. Is how do I do that? And I think it's just know you have a voice. And I think you know that, and it's just the way that may be occurring in this moment. But yeah, keep to your voice. Keep to what it is you feel deep inside, what it is you're really hearing. And I think whatever that is, it's amazing what answers you get from a healthcare professional. I think, and keeping to that, because it may not be textbook, right? And there's some people that thrive as a patient and not being textbook, and it's amazing to see. It's almost as if they've studied the book themselves, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But yeah,
because the other thing too that's interesting, just as we talk about
possible
plants, is that I do essential oils. Like I really believe in essential oils, and that really too has been really healing for me, and that comes from a plant.
Yeah. They all differently do, yeah. And then the integration of them into, I knew literally, a demented patient, some of them would literally just put a little bit of lavender on themselves. Whether some people like lavender, some people don't. But I knew nurses that would do that, and they worked locked units, and the patients would be a totally different, crowd when they would do something similar to that. And it's amazing what that has, the impact that has, even if it is just oil on your skin with an aroma, and that overall integration of all the senses that we feel, and maybe a reminder that you have that sense, and it's not just whenever, has gas or somebody burps and it's bad. Like, it's not that reminder, that comes up, of the use of your senses in whatever way that comes out. But yeah.
Wow. Well, I really am excited about your mission. Just thank you for having a conversation with a community member that has no medical background whatsoever.
Nothing wrong here. Yeah.
And I really, I love that. I love your mission. And thank you for seeing me as a plant and
you're a human being in that metaphorical. That's all you are, just a plant. No. You know what? If you're a plant, I'm a plant. There you go. People are going to go, oh, that's the Notebook. No. I appreciate you coming on and wanting to speak up and have a voice for those who, it's amazing the people that will hear this. It's been 6 months, 7 months, and seeing what that looks like, and having my own acknowledgments myself too, and seeing what the overall impact is. And I really appreciate your thank you. That's one of the most tender thank yous I've received. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I wish much luck to Hawaii and Maui in general in the recovery and disappearing the upset and recreating and being able to spread transparency and awareness about that, to keep things transparent so people know what is happening, is to keep that whole and complete. Yep. That's the best way. Keep the story whole and complete.
Yeah. They're hurting. Maui's hurting. And so as long as people keep that in mind, that It's not personal. Yeah, if somebody happens to not be nice to you, if you come, it's because we're hurting, and that's it, So don't take it personal.
And some people, they've had the luxury of visiting Maui, and it's amazing to see the things that occur when it's been 2 years almost, year and a half. Yeah, but when I went, I mean, I was very thankful, very welcoming, some of the most friendly people I've interacted with in my life. I've found that in various parts of the world, mainly those of people who are island dwellers. That's just the way the people, that's what it is. And some people, whatever occurs in their conversation is to breaking through and being able to connect in whatever way that comes out. It's kind of funny, but yeah, no, I do wish the very best of wishes and safety to those. And absolutely. All right, everyone.
Good work.
Thank you. Absolutely. All right. And thank you again for being here. And everybody, this has again been episode 36 with Adrienne. Go ahead and again follow, like, and subscribe. And we hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you, Adrienne.
Thank you, Brett.
All right. Bye for now.